Imagine for a moment, the year is 2000. The NFL draft is unfolding and hundreds of young players are waiting to hear their name called. Among them, a lanky quarterback from Michigan, not the most athletic, not the most hyped, sitting with uncertainty written all over his face. His name, Tom Brady. In our reality, Brady fell to the 199th pick, landing with the New England Patriots. And what followed was perhaps the greatest dynasty in NFL history. But in this alternate timeline, the call never comes. Tom Brady is never drafted, never steps foot onto an NFL field, and the entire story of modern football is rewritten in ways both unimaginable and profound. At first glance, some might think, so what? He was just one late-round quarterback. Hundreds of players don't get drafted every year. But Tom Brady wasn't just anyone. He became the face of football for 2 decades. He was the reason dynasties were built, rivalries formed, legends forged. His absence doesn't just change one team's fate. It alters the entire trajectory of the league, from championships to legacies, from economics to culture. So let us dive deep into the ultimate what if in NFL history. What if Tom Brady never played in the NFL? We begin in 2000. The Patriots, led by head coach Bill Belichick, were in the early stages of shaping their future. With Drew Bledsoe as the franchise quarterback, the team had stability at the position. In our real timeline, Bledsoe's injury in 2001 opened the door for Brady, and the rest is history. But in this alternate world, Bledsoe remains the starter. The Patriots never discover the diamond in the rough sitting on their bench. Belichick never unleashes Brady's icy calm, his obsessive competitiveness, his ability to thrive under pressure. Instead, New England continues riding with Bledsoe, a talented but inconsistent player whose career was solid but far from legendary. The result? The Patriots never sparked the dynasty that defined the 2000s. No miracle upset of the greatest show on turf, Rams in Super Bowl 25. No 3 rings in 4 years. No foundation for the Patriot way that made New England a model franchise. Without Brady, Belichick's brilliance as a coach still shines, but the team never becomes synonymous with winning. They might make playoff runs, maybe even reach a Super Bowl or 2, but the dynasty, it never materializes, and that changes everything. Think about the ripple effect. Peyton Manning, often overshadowed by Brady in their epic duels, suddenly dominates the 2000s without his greatest rival holding him back. The Colts don't have to endure constant heartbreak against the Patriots. Manning potentially adds multiple rings to his collection, cementing him as the undisputed greatest quarterback of his generation. His legacy, already historic, grows even larger. Then there's the St. Louis Rams. In our reality, their dynasty dreams ended when Brady and the Patriots shocked the world in 2002. But in this timeline, Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, and that high-powered offense capture another Super Bowl and possibly extend their dominance. The Rams become the team of the early 2000s, not the Patriots. St. Louis, not New England, is remembered as the cradle of modern offensive football. Even the NFL's balance of power shifts. Teams like the Steelers, who suffered heartbreak against the Patriots in key playoff games, now see smoother paths to championships. The Raiders, who lost in the infamous Tuck Rule game, might advance to glory and change their entire history. Legacies of entire franchises look different, all because Brady never stepped foot on the field. But let's not forget the man himself. Without the NFL draft, Brady likely pursues another path. Perhaps he plays in a different football league, or maybe he leans into a career outside of sports. His legendary work ethic and obsession with competition suggest he would be found success somewhere. But the idea of Brady becoming a corporate professional, or even a coach at the college level, paints a fascinating alternate portrait. Imagine the GOAT never becoming the GOAT. Just another man remembered by Michigan fans as a solid college quarterback. And what about Belichick? For 2 decades, the Belichick-Brady partnership defined football excellence. In this timeline, Belichick may still be respected as a defensive genius, but without Brady to execute his vision, his teams never achieved that same dominance. He might win games, but would he be remembered as the greatest coach ever? Likely not. His reputation as a coach who struggled before Brady, remember his Cleveland years, might have followed him longer. From there, the impact stretches outward. The Patriots dynasty fueled rivalries, television ratings, and massive revenue for the NFL. Brady's presence in so many iconic Super Bowls helped the league grow its international footprint. Without him, maybe football doesn't explode in the same way globally. Maybe a different player becomes the face of the NFL. Manning, Brett Favre, or even someone like Donovan McNabb. But none quite had the same longevity or aura as Brady. And then, the cultural impact. Tom Brady wasn't just a football player. He was a symbol of resilience, proving that a lightly regarded sixth-round pick could become the greatest ever. His story inspired millions of athletes across sports who were overlooked, doubted, or cast aside. Without his journey, that narrative is lost. The idea of never count out the underdog doesn't carry the same power in football lore. But as with every alternate history, the changes cascade. Maybe the Patriots spend years searching for a quarterback and stumble into another gem. Maybe the league looks different not just in champions, but in style. Without Brady's surgical pocket passing dominating the narrative, perhaps mobile quarterbacks take over earlier. Maybe the NFL of the 2000s evolves into something even faster, even more dynamic. Yet even with all these possibilities, one truth stands out. The NFL without Tom Brady is not the same NFL we know today. He wasn't just a player. He was a dynasty, a brand, a legacy. And without him, football history is rewritten entirely. That's just the beginning. Because as we continue down this path, the ripple effects only grow larger. As the 2000s progress in this alternate timeline, the absence of Tom Brady becomes even more pronounced. The NFL begins shaping itself around new powerhouses, with no Patriots dynasty to dominate the headlines. Peyton Manning's Colts, Ben Roethlisberger's Steelers, and Kurt Warner's Rams take turns as the faces of football. And yet, even with all their brilliance, none of them achieve the sustained run that the Brady-led Patriots did in our reality. Championships are more scattered, legacies more evenly distributed, and the sense of one franchise ruling over all others never materializes. By the mid-2000s, the league's competitive balance feels wider. Without New England as the villain, there is no everyone versus the Patriots storyline to drive rivalries. The Colts and Steelers still clash, the Cowboys and Eagles still battle, but the cultural icon of a cold, ruthless New England machine simply doesn't exist. Fans who once grew to love or hate the Patriots now see the NFL as more open-ended. Every season feels like a fresh race, rather than another chapter in the Brady versus the world saga. And in this timeline, Peyton Manning cements himself as the undisputed face of football. Free from the heartbreak of multiple playoff losses to Brady, Manning adds perhaps 3 or 4 more rings to his collection. His story becomes one of not only statistical brilliance, but of postseason dominance. The debates we had in our reality, Manning versus Brady, numbers versus rings, never happen. Manning becomes the clear greatest quarterback of all time, his name etched above all others. The Hall of Fame speeches, the documentaries, the legacy talk, everything revolves around Manning, not Brady. But there's another ripple. Without Brady's rise, Drew Bledsoe continues leading the Patriots into the early 2000s. A talented passer with a rocket arm, Bledsoe keeps New England respectable, maybe even competitive. But he lacks Brady's intangibles, his composure, his refusal to crack under pressure, his relentless leadership. So while the Patriots win games, they don't win championships. By the mid-2000s, frustration builds. Belichick, without the Brady safety net, faces pressure. Perhaps he's let go earlier, remembered as a defensive mastermind but not the greatest head coach of all time. Maybe the Patriots fade into mediocrity, forever searching for the quarterback who never was. Meanwhile, other franchises benefit. The Raiders, haunted in reality by the tuck rule game, become Super Bowl champions in this alternate history. Their momentum changes everything. They stay relevant longer, Al Davis reclaims his reputation, and the culture of the Raiders shifts. The what could have been becomes the what was. The Steelers, too, find more room to shine. Instead of Brady knocking them out in key AFC championships, they rack up more Super Bowl appearances, adding to Pittsburgh's already legendary trophy case. And the Rams, the greatest show on turf, their dominance lasts longer. That team, electric and revolutionary, doesn't collapse after being stunned by Brady in 2002. They potentially add another championship, making Kurt Warner not just a great comeback story, but a multi-ring legend. The offensive explosion they represented spreads across the league faster, pushing the NFL toward high-octane passing years before our reality caught up. Then we arrive at the mid to late 2000s, when the Brady-Manning rivalry defined football culture in our world. In this alternate reality, that rivalry never exists. Instead, it's Manning versus Roethlisberger, Manning versus Phillip Rivers, Manning versus the NFC's carousel of challengers. Good rivalries, yes, but not the same. None carry the weight, the drama, the iconic moments that Manning versus Brady gave us. The NFL loses its defining duel, the one that elevated ratings, headlines, and global attention. Without Brady, football feels just a little less mythic. On the cultural side, Brady's absence leaves a vacuum in the underdog story that inspired so many. No sixth-round pick rising to become the greatest ever. No reminder that greatness can come from the most unlikely of places. Instead, the NFL is dominated by top draft picks, golden boys who were always expected to succeed. The message subtly shifts. If you're not drafted early, your chances are slim. The magic of Brady's story, the idea that hard work and resilience can defy all odds, is lost to history. Young athletes who drew inspiration from him in our timeline never get that spark. Maybe some never chase their dreams as hard. By the 2010s, the league has entered a new era. Manning is still dominant, but his career eventually winds down. Without Brady as the ageless competitor pushing the limits of longevity, perhaps quarterbacks don't play into their 40s as often. The standard for career length is lower. The rise of Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, and Russell Wilson defines the decade. But none of them capture the aura that Brady carried as the man who could never be beaten when the stakes were highest. And what about Super Bowl history? In reality, Brady gave us some of the greatest games ever played. The comeback against the Falcons, the duels with the Seahawks, the showdown with the Rams. Without him, those moments never exist. Instead, new champions rise, but none create the same iconic legacy-defining highlights. The league has champions, but it lacks its mythology. Off the field, too, the effects are clear. Brady's brand, his crossover into pop culture, his marriage to a global supermodel, his fitness empire, none of it happens. The NFL loses one of its biggest ambassadors. Without Brady's larger-than-life persona, perhaps basketball or global soccer grows even more dominant in the U.S. sports market. Maybe the NFL struggles just a little harder to maintain its crown as America's #1 sport. And then there's the final twist of fate. Tom Brady himself. Without the NFL, his life takes another path. Maybe he coaches quarterbacks at the college level. Maybe he becomes a successful businessman. Maybe he disappears into anonymity. The idea that the greatest quarterback of all time could have been just another face in the crowd is both haunting and humbling. It reminds us how fragile history can be, that a single draft pick, a single chance can change the world. So what's the takeaway? In our reality, Tom Brady wasn't just a player. He was the definition of greatness against all odds. His story showed us that no matter where you start, no matter how many people doubt you, with enough work and belief, you can rise to the very top. Without him, football history is different. Manning is the greatest, dynasties belong to others, the Patriots are just another team, and the NFL loses one of its most powerful myths. The alternate world is fascinating, even exciting in its own way. But it's not our world. Because in our reality, Tom Brady did get drafted. He did step in for Bledsoe. He did lead the Patriots to victory after victory, and he did become the man who defined football for a generation. Love him or hate him, his presence shaped the sport in ways no one else could. And that's why this question, what if Tom Brady never played in the NFL, is one of the greatest what-ifs in all of sports. Because the answer reminds us just how much one man, one opportunity, can change everything.